In the mighty land of Uwaoma, where warriors were born from courage and kings ruled with kindness, there lived one man whose name echoed in every corner, Akirika, the fearless warrior. He was tall like a palm tree, strong like iron, and wise beyond his years. Every battle he fought brought victory to Uwaoma. Even the king loved him like a brother. But one day, Akirika's heart was captured, not by war, but by love. When he asked for the hand of the princess, what he heard changed his heart forever. His love turned into anger, his pride turned into pain, and the land that once sang his name would soon mourn him. This is the story of Akirika, the angry warrior, a tale of love, pride, betrayal, and the painful lesson of letting go. Stay tuned, because this story will touch your heart and teach you something deeper than victory. If thunder had a voice and walked among men, it would sound and move like Akirika, the angry warrior of Uwaoma. His presence alone could make the bravest of men tremble and the boldest of women stare in wonder. Whenever his footsteps echoed through the narrow paths of the kingdom, children ran to the roadside to shout his name, and elders nodded with pride. He was not just a warrior. He was a symbol of power, strength, and victory. The land of Uwaoma was blessed. It was one of the richest lands in all the surrounding kingdoms. Their soil was fertile, their streams were clean, and their people were hardworking. They had yam barns that could feed 100 families, palm trees that touched the sky, and markets that were always full. But above all, Uwaoma was feared and respected because of its warriors, and the greatest among them was Akirika. From the time he was a boy, Akirika loved the sound of the gong that called warriors to the palace. He loved the stories his father told him about ancient battles, how brave men fought and died to protect the land. His father, Nweke the Mighty, had been a warrior too, one whose name was still sung during festivals. When Akirika was 10 years old, he followed his father to training grounds. By 16, he was already fighting beside grown men. By 25, he was leading them. His body was built like a mountain. His shoulders were wide and strong. His chest rose like a drum, and his arms looked like they were carved from Iroko wood. His voice was deep and carried far. Even when he spoke softly, people listened. He had a scar that ran from his left eye to his jaw, a reminder of a fierce battle that almost took his life, but made him a legend instead. King Chimezi, the ruler of Uwaoma, loved Akirika like his own son. The king was a good man, kind, wise, and full of peace. He treated his people like family and never allowed anyone to suffer if he could help it. The people respected him, and because he ruled with fairness, there was little trouble in the land. But even in times of peace, the king made sure his warriors stayed ready. Akirika was the head of the warriors. He trained them with discipline and courage. When war drums beat from faraway lands, he was the first to stand before the king and say, "My sword is ready." He have led battles that seemed impossible and returned each time with victory. When the kingdom of Owerri tried to steal Uwaoma fertile lands, it was Akirika who led the fight that drove them back. When the river people from Udi attacked their traders, Akirika went with only 30 men and came back with the enemy's flag and their leaders as captives. Every story of Uwaoma's greatness carried his name like a crown. Because of this, the king gave him many rewards,
lands, cows, gold, and even servants. But Akirika was not a greedy man. Whatever he received, he shared with his fellow warriors and even widows of fallen soldiers. He often said, "A warrior fights for the people, not for himself." That made him more loved by everyone. The women of Uwaoma admired him. Many dreamt of becoming his wife, but Akirika always said he was married to the sword. He claimed that his only love was battle, that he had no time for selfless. Still, people loved him, not only for his strength, but for his heart. The king's palace stood tall on a hill, surrounded by palm trees and guarded by warriors day and night. King Chimezi had 2 children, a son and a daughter. His son, Prince Somadina, was studying abroad to become a scholar. His daughter, Princess Udoka, was the pride of the kingdom. A young woman whose skin glowed like morning light, her smile brought peace, and her voice was soft like flute music. As she grew older, many men, both rich and noble, came to seek her hand in marriage. But the king was careful. He wanted her to marry for love, not for wealth or title. So when Udoka told him she had found someone she truly loved, a man named Ikena, the son of Maziaki, the richest trader in Lagos, the king was happy. Ikena's family had roots in Uwaoma, and though they lived in the city, they often sent gifts and supported the kingdom. The king welcomed their requests and promised that once Ikena's people fixed a date for the introduction, he would make it official. Meanwhile, Akirika continued his duties. He still visited the palace often to discuss matters of security, train young warriors, and advise the king. The bond between them was strong, the kind that could only be built through years of loyalty and respect. One evening, when the sun was setting behind the hills and the air smelt of roasted yam and palm oil, Akirika decided to visit the king. He wore his best cloth, a red warrior's wrapper, and carried a small gift of kola nuts and palm wine. He walked with confidence, greeting people as he passed. "Akirika the brave," the guards hailed when he arrived at the gate. "Let him in," the king's voice echoed from inside. The hall was calm and filled with the fragrance of incense. King Chimezi sat on his wooden throne, wearing a simple robe, his coral beads shining softly. He smiled as Akirika entered. "My great warrior, what brings you this evening? Is there trouble at the borders?" the king asked cheerfully. Akirika bowed respectfully. "My king, all is well. Our borders are safe. Our people sleep in peace, and the spirits of our ancestors smile upon Uwaoma. But I came to speak of something else, something personal." The king leaned forward with interest. "Then speak, my friend." Akirika took a deep breath. "My king, you have treated me like a son. You have trusted me with your armies and your kingdom. Today, I ask for one more thing. Your daughter's hand in marriage." The hall went silent. The king blinked, thinking he misheard. He let out a soft laugh. "You must be joking, Akirika. You mean to say you want land for her marriage, or perhaps you want to guard her wedding ceremony?" But Akirika's face was serious. His voice was firm. "No, my king. I want to marry Princess Udoka. I may not be rich like city men, but I am strong. I have lands, cattle, servants, and enough wealth from the battles I fought for this land. I can protect her, provide for her, and love her with all my heart." The king's smile slowly disappeared. He studied Akirika's face and saw determination burning in his eyes. Then he sighed heavily. "Akirika, my son," the king began softly, "I would have loved to have you as my son-in-law. You are brave, loyal, and worthy. But you came a little late. Princess Udoka is already promised to someone else. Ikana, the son of Maziaki. They have known each other for some time. They love each other deeply. Only yesterday they came to see me and I accepted their proposal. I am only waiting for Ikana's people to fix the introduction date. You will hear the announcement soon. For a moment, the world went silent. Akirika stood still, his chest rising and falling like waves in a storm. Then his hands clenched into fists and his face turned red. A low growl came from his throat, growing louder and louder until it filled the entire palace.
No, he shouted. His voice shook the pillars. Even the queen, who was in her chamber, jumped at the sound. The guards outside rushed to the door, thinking war had come. "My king," Akirika said with anger burning in his eyes, "I have fought every battle for this kingdom. I have shed blood, risked my life, and brought victory every time. I have never asked for anything, not wealth, not title. But the one thing I ask of you, you deny me, the daughter of my king, the princess I loved from afar? If I cannot marry her, then no man will." The king rose slowly. "Akirika, be careful with your words. Udoka is not a prize to be claimed. She is a woman with her own will. You cannot force love." But Akirika was breathing heavily, his heart pounding with pain and pride. "My king, you will remember this day," he said bitterly. "If I do not marry Princess Udoka, no one else will." Then he turned and stormed out of the palace, his footsteps echoing through the courtyard like drums of war. The queen came running into the hall. "My husband, what happened? Why was he shouting?" The king sat down slowly, rubbing his forehead. "Akirika has asked to marry our daughter, and when I told him she is promised to Ikenna, he swore that no one else would marry her." The queen gasped. "That is dangerous. You know Akirika. He is not an ordinary man. His anger can move mountains." "I know," the king replied sadly, "and that is what worries me." That night, the king could not sleep. He called for his guards and told them to keep a close watch on Akirika's movements, though he did not want to provoke him. He also sent a message to the queen that by morning they must speak with Princess Udoka. When dawn came, the sun rose slowly over the hills of Uwaoma, and the land woke up with the sounds of roosters and traders. But in the king's palace, there was no peace. The king and queen sat with their daughter, telling her everything that had happened. How Akirika wanted her for a wife, and how he had sworn that no one else would marry her. Udoka's eyes widened in shock. "Father, I respect Akirika, but I do not love him. My heart belongs to Ikenna." "I know, my child," the king said gently, "but we must find a way to handle this carefully. Akirika is not a man you can easily anger." The queen held her daughter's hand. "You must stay close to the palace for now. Do not go to the market alone or to the river. Until we know what Akirika plans, we must be careful." Udoka nodded, but her heart was filled with fear and sadness. She loved her kingdom and she respected Akirika for all he had done, but she never imagined he could turn against them because of her. Outside the palace, people whispered. Some said Akirika had gone mad with love. Others said he had been bewitched by spirits of war. But everyone knew one thing for sure. When a man like Akirika swore an oath, the land itself trembled. And that was how the peace of Uwaoma began to shake. Not from the swords of enemies, but from the anger of its own greatest warrior. The next morning, the sound of the palace gong echoed through Uwaoma. The people knew that meant the king had something important to say. But instead of joy or excitement, there was tension in the air. The news about Akirika's outburst had already spread. From one end of the market to the other, from palm wine joints to the farmlands, everyone was talking about it. Did you hear? Akirika went to the palace and shouted at the king. One man whispered as he pounded yam in his compound. He said he wants to marry the princess. Another replied, shaking his head. But the king already promised that to Ikena, the rich man's son from Lagos. This one will not end well, an elderly woman said softly. Akirika is not just a warrior, he is a storm. When a storm is angry, even the gods stay away. The king sat quietly in the palace courtyard, his crown beside him. He looked tired and worried. He loved Akirika like his own son, and the thought of losing that bond pained him. The queen sat beside him, her hands folded on her lap. She too was troubled. "Do you think he will do something foolish?" she asked. "I do not know," the king replied. "But I know Akirika's heart. When he sets his mind on something, it becomes his whole world. If that thing slips away, he becomes like a wounded lion." They both sighed. A silence filled the air until one of the guards announced that Akirika had come again to see the king. "Let him in," the king said. When Akirika entered, his face was calm, but his eyes carried fire. He bowed slightly. "My king, I came to ask again. Have you changed your mind?" King Chimezi looked at him quietly for a moment, then spoke slowly. "Akirika, I love you like a son. I respect you more than I can say. But Udoka is not mine to give. She has made her choice. I cannot force her heart to love another. Let me organize a contest for the maidens. Anyone who wins will be your wife. You can also choose a wife even without the contest. Almost all the maidens of this land wants to be your wife. Pick one of them and I will take care of all the expenses." But Akirika refused. Then the king said, "I cannot force Princess Udoka to marry you. Like I said earlier, she have decided to marry Ikena." Akirika's jaw tightened. "So that is your final word?" "Yes," said the king. "That is my final word." There was silence. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Akirika nodded slowly and turned to leave. But at the door, he stopped and looked back. "Then, my king, you have chosen war, not with another land, but with your own heart. You have taken the only thing I have ever wanted and given it to another man. I have nothing left to lose." Then he walked out, his steps heavy with anger. From that day, Akirika changed. The once cheerful warrior who used to share his food with others stopped smiling. He no longer joined the other soldiers for evening drinks. He trained alone, hitting wooden targets until his sword broke. Some nights, people heard him shouting to the gods in his compound, asking them why they had denied him love after giving him everything else. His closest friend, Okechukwu, tried to talk sense into him. One evening, Okechukwu came to his house carrying a gourd of palm wine. "My brother," he said, "you must let this go. The princess was never promised to you. You are a warrior, not a beggar of love." But Akirika frowned. "You don't understand. I have fought for this kingdom with every drop of blood in me. When men ran from death, I faced it. When others slept, I stayed awake to guard our borders. The king treats me well, yes, but this one thing I asked for, he could not give me. Tell me, Okechukwu, is that fair?" Okechukwu sighed. "Fair or not, that is the truth. She loves another. You cannot force love, my brother." Akirika slammed his hand on the table. "If I cannot have her, no man will, not while I live." Okechukwu stared in shock at him. "Akirika, you cannot talk like that.
You will destroy yourself. Do not let pride make you forget all the good things you have done." But Akirika stood up, his face hard as stone. "Go home, Okechukwu. You do not understand the fire in my heart." When Okechukwu left, he went straight to the palace to warn the king. "My king," he said, "I fear Akirika's heart is dark with anger. Watch him closely. He may do something dangerous." The king nodded. "I know, my son. I have already sent the palace guards to keep an eye on him, but we must not provoke him further. His anger is not that of a common man." Days turned to weeks. Meanwhile, the palace was preparing for Princess Udoka's introduction ceremony. The king sent word to Ikena's family to fix a date. They agreed that in 2 weeks they would come with gifts and kinsmen for the introduction. The whole palace buzzed with excitement. Drummers were rehearsing, women were preparing their dancing clothes, and the palace cooks began gathering ingredients. But while everyone celebrated, Akirika's compound grew darker. He stopped visiting the palace. He ignored the king's messengers. He spent his days sharpening his sword, his nights staring into the fire, whispering to himself. One morning, an old woman known as Mamanken visited his compound. She looked at him and said, "Akirika, your spirit is restless. I can see fire in your eyes. Be careful. Anger is a spirit that eats the heart." But Akirika only laughed bitterly. "Mamankem, the gods gave me strength to fight. I will use that strength. I will not watch another man take what belongs to me. Nothing belongs to anyone. Even the land we stand on will one day swallow us. Let's go before your pride buries you." Akirika turned away and said, "Leave, old woman. Your words are for weak men, not for warriors." That night, Akirika made his plan. He would wait for the day of the introduction. He would enter the palace like a loyal soldier, then strike when no one expected it. He did not plan to harm the princess. He only wanted to destroy the ceremony, to shame the king and Ikena before everyone. He believed that once the ceremony was ruined, the gods would turn fate in his favor. Meanwhile, the king and queen still hoped he would calm down. They even sent gifts to him, goats, tubers of yam and palm wine, as a peace offering. But Akirika refused all of them. When the day of the introduction finally came, the sun rose bright and hot. The palace was decorated with palm leaves and colorful clothes. Drummers beat their drums, dancers swayed, and guests from far and near arrived with smiles. The princess looked radiant in her red wrapper and coral beads, her hair beautifully woven, her face glowing like morning dew. Ikena arrived with his family and friends, bringing yam, drinks, and gifts for the royal family. The king was happy. He raised his hands and blessed the gathering, thanking the ancestors for guiding them. But deep in the shadows near the palace fence, Akirika watched everything. He wore his warrior cloth, his sword hidden beneath his wrapper. His heart beat fast, not with fear, but with rage. He waited for the right moment.
The ceremony began. The royal drummers played louder and the dancers moved to the rhythm. The king stood to address the crowd. Today we join two hearts in love and peace. May our ancestors bless this union. Just as he was about to pour libation, a loud roar came from behind the crowd. People turned. There stood Akirika, his eyes red like burning coal. His voice thundered across the palace yard. "This marriage will not hold," he shouted. "I warned you, my king. I warned you all." The drummers stopped. The dancers froze. The guards ran forward, swords drawn, but the king raised his hand to stop them. "Akirika," he said calmly, "put down your anger. Do not shame yourself before your people." But Akirika laughed wildly.
Shame? The only shame is betrayal. You betrayed your warrior, your friend, your own blood. The crowd began to whisper. The queen held the princess tightly, and Ikenna stood in front of her, shielding her. Akirika took a step forward. If I cannot have her, no man will, he shouted again. Then he drew his sword. Before he could move closer, Okechukwu, his old friend, rushed out from the crowd to stop him. Akirika, don't do this, he cried. He tried to grab the sword, but Akirika pushed him away. In the struggle, the sword slipped from Akirika's hand, hit a stone, and bounced back, piercing his own chest. There was silence. The crowd gasped. Akirika fell to his knees, his eyes wide with shock. He looked down at the blood pouring from his chest, then looked up at the king. "My king," he whispered weakly, "forgive me. I let anger rule me." Then he fell to the ground, his sword beside him. The mighty warrior who had defended Uwaoma all his life lay lifeless in the same palace he once protected. The queen covered her mouth and began to cry. The king stood in silence, his face heavy with sorrow. He walked slowly to where Akirika lay and knelt beside him. "You were my son," he whispered. "You fought for us. May the gods forgive your pride and receive your spirit." That day, the drums of joy became drums of mourning. The introduction was cancelled. The kingdom buried Akirika with full honor as a warrior. But in every heart, there was pain. Pain that the man who once protected them had been destroyed by his own anger. That night, the king could not sleep. He sat by the window looking at the moon. "Anger," he said softly, "is a fire that burns not only others, but also the one who carries it." The queen nodded quietly beside him. He was great, but pride made him blind. And so, the kingdom of Uwaoma mourned the loss of its strongest warrior, the man who had everything but could not control his heart.
The day after Akirika's death, the entire kingdom of Uwaoma fell into silence. It was as if the land itself was mourning. The market that was supposed to open that morning stayed closed. No woman pounded yam. No children played in the streets. Even the wind moved slowly, carrying a strange heaviness that touched every soul. Akirika, the man who once walked through the land like thunder, was gone. The king ordered that he be buried like a true warrior, not because of his last actions, but because of his years of loyalty and service. By evening, the people gathered at the village square. The king's messengers carried the royal staff, and the drummers played slow, sorrowful beats. Akirika's body lay in a fine wooden coffin, his sword placed beside him, and his warrior's cloth wrapped around his body. Palm leaves and white chalk decorated the ground around him. The elders poured libation and prayed for his spirit. Okechukwu, his closest friend, stood beside the coffin with tears in his eyes. "Akirika," he said quietly, "you were the strongest man I knew. You faced every enemy and never lost a battle, but you lost the war inside your heart. If only you had listened." The king stood to speak. His voice was calm but heavy with sadness. Akirika was more than a warrior, he said. He was a pillar of Uwaoma. His courage brought us victory. His wisdom brought us peace. But even the greatest of men can fall when pride enters their hearts. May the gods forgive him and guide his spirit to the land of our ancestors. The people responded with a loud cry, and the drummers beat their drums once more. Then they buried Akirika near the great tree of warriors, the same place where his father, Nweke the Mighty, was laid to rest many years ago. For days the land mourned him.
People came from other villages to pay their respects. Traders from distant lands, farmers, hunters, and even children carried flowers and laid them on his grave. The king declared 7 days of mourning. During those days, the queen noticed that her daughter, Princess Udoka, was quiet. She ate little and spoke even less. On the 4th day, the queen sat beside her in the garden. "My daughter," she said softly, "your heart is heavy. Are you afraid?" Udoka looked up slowly. "Not afraid, mother. Just sad. I keep thinking about him. Akirika was not a bad man. He was kind. He cared for the people. He helped the poor. How did he let anger destroy him like that?" The queen sighed deeply. "Because, my daughter, sometimes love turns into pride when it is not guided by wisdom. Akirika forgot that love cannot be taken by force. He wanted you so much that he stopped seeing the truth." Udoka nodded slowly. "I wish he had listened to his heart before it became dark." "Let that be your lesson, my child," the queen said gently. "No matter how good a person is, if pride and anger take root in their hearts, they will destroy everything they love." As days passed, the pain in the kingdom began to soften. The farmers returned to their fields, the traders reopened their stalls, and the children started to laugh again. But the story of Akirika became a lesson that parents told their children every night. A story of strength, pride, and loss. Months later, when the mourning was over, the king called his chiefs and elders to the palace. "My people," he said, "we have cried enough. The dead must rest, and the living must move forward. It is time we complete what was left unfinished. Princess Udoka will be married to Ikena as planned. But before that, I want us to honor Akirika one last time." He ordered that a statue be built in Akirika's memory. A tall bronze figure of a warrior holding a sword, standing proudly in the center of the village square. Below it, they wrote the words, "Here stands Akirika, the brave. His strength protected us. His pride destroyed him. May we learn from his story." When the statue was unveiled, people wept again. Even though Akirika had fallen, his memory remained strong. The king declared that every year, on the day of his death, the warriors of Uwaoma would march around the village with their swords raised high to remember him. Princess Udoka continued to visit his grave often. Sometimes she brought flowers, sometimes she just sat quietly. She prayed that his soul would find peace. Ikena, her fiancé, never stopped her. He knew that her visits were not from love, but from respect for a man who once gave his life for their peace. 3 months after Akirika's burial, the marriage ceremony between Udoka and Ikena finally took place. The kingdom was filled with joy again. The air smelled of roasted meat and palm wine. Dancers filled the palace yard and drummers played from morning till night. The people sang, celebrating love and new beginnings. During the ceremony, the king stood and spoke to the crowd. "My people, today we celebrate love, but we also remember the cost of anger. May this union be guided by peace and patience. May we never again lose another good man to pride." The people clapped and shouted praises to the king. Udoka smiled for the first time in months, and Ikena took her hand gently. Their eyes met, and there was peace between them. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, the king and queen walked together to Akirika's grave. The king poured a little palm wine on the ground and said quietly, My son, your story will never be forgotten. You fought for us till the end. May your spirit rest. The queen added softly, if only you had waited, if only you had trusted the king you loved, you would still be here. But may the gods forgive your anger. They stood there for a moment, watching the last rays of the sun touch the grave. Then they turned and walked back to the palace hand in hand. Life in Uwaoma returned to normal. The people farmed, traded, and danced as before. But something had changed forever. They had learned that strength without peace is like a sharp knife without a handle. It cuts even the one who holds it.
iLiveNG.com.
Years passed. Children grew up hearing the tale of Akirika the angry warrior. During festivals, the griots and storytellers would sit under the moonlight and begin their tales like this.
iLiveNG.com.
There once lived a man named Akirika in the land of Uwaoma. He was brave, wise, and strong, but his anger became his downfall. Let every heart remember that no matter how powerful you are, pride can destroy everything you build.
And whenever those words were spoken, people would bow their heads, remembering the man who was both a hero and a warning. Princess Udoka and Ikena lived happily together. They had children who grew to be kind and wise. The king and queen grew old in peace, grateful that the gods had kept their land safe. And the statue of Akirika continued to stand tall in the middle of Uwaoma, a reminder that even the strongest warrior must learn humility. At sunset, when the golden light touched the statue, it almost looked alive, like Akirika was still watching over the land he loved, but this time in silence. The elders often told the young men, when you walk past Akirika's statue, bow your head, not just to honor him, but to remind yourself that pride kills faster than any sword. And so, the story of Akirika, the angry warrior of Uwaoma, was passed down from one generation to another, a tale of courage, love, anger, and the truth that no man, no matter how great, is above humility. The kingdom of Uwaoma never forgot him. His name became both a legend and a lesson. Moral of the story: there are things in life we wish to have, but if we cannot get them, we must accept what we have and move on. Pride and anger only lead to destruction, but humility brings peace. The end.